capes and conundrums. "No! Poor! What's their name?" Darkscream exclaims before checking the available notes on the situation. Clearly, she thinks that the most important part of the investigation is the overacting. "Wait, what's going on?" Shadowflight asks before she falls to her knees. "No, not him! He was so beautiful!" The murder victim is a sexless styrofoam mannequin with roughly the same number of facial features as Slender Man, perhaps less. Oh, it can't be that. No! Ambush night begins as she finishes the test and sees the crime. She breaks down in false sobs and Santiago slowly runs a hand down his face. "I suppose it would be asking a bit much to take that mess seriously." Robin notes and gets a sigh out of Santiago. "Yes, it would," Santiago says as he watches the girls observe the scene and point out all the clues to each other, whispering about their findings and putting it together. But will they put it together the right way? Okay, so all of this is dated on the human calendar of March 17th. Hold on, that date means something. Ambush Night says, and Robin smiles as they take notice of one of the most important clues. The position of the body and the blood isn't the important part. The three important clues were the date of the murder, the design of the murder weapons, and the tattoo that the weapon was embedded in. Hey look, the knife is embedded in the design of some kind of tail creature, like a nagasha, but an animal head instead of a body. Humans call them snakes back home. This is important. I think the knife is more important. The handle is bright green and it has a 3-leaf plant emblazoned on the guard. Shadowflight adds in, and that's 3. Robin mouths to Santiago and holds up the appropriate fingers. Santiago nods. The girls spend a few more minutes looking for more clues and determine a few more incidental clues. They deduce the purpose of the date March 17th and realize it's St. Patrick's Day, that the man wasn't wearing green, and they rush out to grab the books on procedure and who's who of Batman villains. They flip through it and stop. It fits. The victim was killed on a holiday in a way related to it. It's Calendar Man. "And how did you come to that conclusion?" Robin asks. "The date is St. Patrick's Day, a holiday related to a saint that was heavily associated with fighting snakes, the color green and shamrocks. The green knife is through a snake marking on the victim who isn't wearing green on St. Patrick's Day, which is considered a minor social mistake. See if it all pans out on the other side. The computer there has all the information you need." A bat computer? Technically. The end result will be a site with all the information needed for these fake crimes, a simple application to connect to it that can be downloaded en masse, and this becomes easily usable. Robin says, "All right, I'm pretty sure the murder was committed by Julian Gregory Day, also known as Calendar Man." Shadowflight says, "Go and put it in. See if you're right." Santiago says, "We are. This is the easy mode and the mystery is very, very obvious." Darkscream says, "No, it could be another criminal trying to frame Calendar Man to get the bat off their back," Robin says. "That's weak, and you know it," Santiago says. "Yes, you're right, but with a test it doesn't matter if the answer is obvious. If you don't give the answer, it doesn't count, and it would mean that you fail the test." "Oh, fine. We'll put the obvious answer into the machine and get started on the second test. So much for murder," Darkscream says, mocking Robin's early announcement and only getting a huff of amusement. "Level 2 is next," Santiago says, even as all 3 women quickly head over to the Bat computer and quickly browse through all the information on Calendar Man. They're followed by St. Patrick's Day and St. Patrick himself. They then come to screen that asks who the culprit is, and it asks for an audible answer. "Calendar Man," they all say, and there's a light up on the screen followed by a check mark. That means we're right? Ambush Night asks. "It does, which means I have to show you this." "Oh, ew, a strip tease." Robin mocks, turning away, and gets a smack on the shoulder. "My mask, you idiot!" Santiago snaps before he reaches into his coat and the girls let out a sound of disappointment. "Do you want to see the mask or not?" They straighten up in a hurry and he sighs before rubbing the side of his head. "Swear to Christ, my life is being filled with comedy skits." Moaning done, he reaches back into his coat and pulls out a light gray mask with an almost mottled stitching design over it to mimic the coarse skin of a rhino. The real attention-getter is the horn of the mask, though, starting at the tip of his nose and hugging the mask all the way up until it comes to a point 2 inches over his head. It's bedazzled the whole way up in a pattern similar to a sugar skull from Dia de los Muertos. A bit of mourning for all the noble animals slaughtered for their horns. So much death and waste for a bit of ivory. Sorry, it's not the fanciest or the most traditional, but it is my mask, and until it's taken from me in a proper lucha contest, it will remain mine. Santiago apologizes, a little self-conscious about it. "I half expected you to have a spear sticking out the front of that thing," Robin comments, and Santiago gives him an affronted look. "Do you know nothing about the honor of lucha libre?" Santiago demands. "No." Robin's answer is like a brick to the face, and the larger man frowns. "You're going to be watching at least a season of professional lucha," Santiago says. "No, and you can't make me." "Oh, yes, I can." No, you can't." Boys, you're both very pretty. Can we please leave it at that?" Shadowflight asks, and both men give her an odd look in return. "What? Never mind. You all passed the first level. Would you like to go to the second?" Santiago asks as he slowly pockets the mask again. "If only to see you put on the mask and get into character." Darkscream teases, and Robin rolls his eyes at that. "All right, enough flirting. Let's go," Robin says, and there's some chuckles before he gestures for everyone to follow him out of the testing room. Now, as you three are well aware of, this level is designed to just check general health and mental awareness while also teaching the rules. Follow the procedure and you can get through the events without an issue. You might win, you might lose, but you won't ruin it for everyone else if you can get through level 1. Level 2 is where the fun begins, Santiago says as they all leave the room. This next one will not be resized as the challengers will have to accommodate for the fact that not everything is built for them. However, it's also the point where some combat ability will be needed. Behind them, door number 1 is closed and door number 2 is opened. Inside is a piece of a skyscraper? This test requires you to get into a locked building, navigate around it, and identify, understand, and draw conclusions about the crime scene before leaving. But to fully leave, you have to deal disabling blows to a target dummy. You ready? "How do we get in?" Darkscream asks. "That's your decision. However, destroying or tainting the crime scene results in a loss of points. In this scenario, you're here before the police, and if you want to be on their good side, then you need to stick to procedure." Santiago explains, and all three look interested. Now, you can all go in at once, but it will make it harder to move around as there's only so much space in the apartment. It's not aggressively small, but a Canador will have to crouch a fair amount as it's sized for a Sonier. There a reason for that? Yes, duh. All these events are happening in a Sonier city, so a guest to this city that wants to play the game had best be ready to actually move around the city, Santiago says. "Now, if you'd all bring out your communicators," he says, and he holds his own out. He sets it to broadcast some information, and shortly all three women are looking at building plans and the dates people live in them. Also what had been called in on a police report. Now, when I say go, the timer starts. It's going to be assumed you have a quarter of an hour or 15 minutes to get in, case the crime scene, get out and fight off a leftover thug in your escape path on the roof. The biggest hint is with the fake thug. So don't worry if all you do is just give the place a good look over and don't see anything relevant. The important bit is in the fight, in getting around, and in not tainting the crime scene. "Are you three ready?" Robin asks as the girls quickly read through things. "Give us a minute." Shadowflight says, and Robin shrugs before setting a timer for 5. Santiago gestures for him to come closer. Should we modify the building levels? I understand that the obstacles are mostly based around urban moving, but someone might complain about it being unfair. Santiago asks Robin. No, we're basing this off a normal building outline, and to be frank, complainers will always find something to complain about. My father had a method when it came to cleaning called look for dirt. As you can guess, he always found more and nothing was ever good enough. Is that why you're such a slob? Teenage rebellion? Santiago asks in a teasing tone. Let's not open that door. The point is that people will always find what they're looking for, whether it's there or not. They will find it or convince themselves they did, Robin says, and Santiago considers. Fair enough, no matter how we make any of these tests, someone will complain. That's about the gist of it. The whole idea of a test is to sort out the capable from the incapable. And if the incapable are allowed to complain, they will, Robin says, and Santiago nods. Not to mention some women just like whining all the time. Darkscream states. Aren't you supposed to be studying? Robin asks, and she lets out a huff of amusement. They have a few more minutes before Robin's alarm goes off. And that's time. Go, go, go. Police are on their way and the trail goes cold if you dawdle anymore. Go, go, go. Santiago triggers the timer even as all 3 women take off. They call out their entry points to each other. Shadowflight goes for the broken window. Darkscream the landing pad on that level, and Ambush Knight soars upwards to the roof. It's just below to work her way down. What greets Shadowflight is a torn-up and ravaged living room without any hint of a dead body. But the bookshelves have been toppled over, the paintings have been ripped off the walls, and the TV has been thrown to the floor and is now projecting static. A robbery? She slips through the room, realizing that the hint isn't there. She stops in the doorway of the next room and looks around as well. It's a dining room. Just as messed up as the living room, and with the smashed chairs overturned and the table toppled to the side, there's clearly been a rough and uncaring search for something. Ambush Knight descends from the roof and finds that the floor is the 22nd, and it niggles at her as important. She opens the door to find Darkscream already at the 8th apartment. That also seems important. The door opens after a little bit of Axiom meddling, and the door opens just in time for both women to see Shadowflight looking at them. She gestures for them to join her. That side of the apartment is completely trashed. Someone was looking for something and they didn't care about subtlety, Shadowflight says. A thief? Darkscream asks. Or a kidnapper or blackmailer. Let's check the rest, Ambush Knight says, and they start to head to the other part of the apartment. But Ambush Knight pauses before adjusting a picture frame that had been smashed against the counter. It shows a trinity of people, man, woman, and child. The odds of kidnapping just went up, or did it? The hallway leads into a quadrilogy of rooms. Bathroom, 2 bedrooms, and an office. One bedroom clearly belongs to a young girl. The bathroom's mirror has clearly had the roughest treatment, and there was a fight here, with a tiny amount of blood where someone was jammed hard and painfully against a towel rack that snapped in a jagged way. The office is also very interesting in the way that the computer has had its hard drive ripped out entirely. A warning alarm goes off and all 3 women quickly leave the apartment after a quick glance into both bedrooms. Posters are torn off the little girl's walls and the bed is overturned. It's much the same except for with portraits for the parents' room, and they all nod to each other. Up and out, time to go, Shadowflight says, and they're quickly out the hallway, up the stairs, and are stopped by 2 trinities of mannequins that are in positions to fight each other, one group in 2-toned outfits and the other wearing more uniform ones that have a bird-like badge over the breast. Penguin and Two-Face are fighting, Darkscream realizes. Or one beat the other to a prize. Either way, we need to drop these people and get more information. Ambush Knight says before she rushes and slams a fist under the armpit of a dummy, and its eyes light up. "That's one down," Santiago calls out before she leaps into the air and drives her feet into the sides of the neck of another mannequin. "That's another." Darkscream just tackles the two remaining two-faced thugs down and slams the heads together to get the eyes to light up. Only two are left. Shadowflight wastes no time and sweeps them off their feet and then pouncing on them to punch each one in the forehead. "Thugs down. You have 2 minutes to evacuate before the police arrive." All three women fly off the building and land in front of the two men. Santiago speaks first. "So, what's going on?" "Gang war, or something like it. Penguin and Two-Face both wanted something there, and they either got into each other's way or one caught the other leaving," Shadowflight says. "Good. Now, what do they want?" Robin prompts. Information. The computer core was taken and possibly a hostage. It could be corporate sabotage." Darkscream adds in. "We need the computer to look up the rest," Shadowflight says, and the other two nod. "Good. Let's get you to the computer and see if you're right."